With God's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer, all the praise and gratitude belongs to the Almighty. Prayers and peace upon Muhammad the Prophet, and peace upon you, dear souls. Thank you for tuning in today, joining in or watching the replay. Let us know where you're calling in from. Today, we want to share some thoughts and some ideas around self-leadership. In fact, we were blessed last Saturday to give a presentation at the African American Museum and Library at Oakland, in Oakland, California. And so we're not going to give you the whole presentation, but there's a few things we definitely wanted to share. Our purpose, our vision is to help us in suffering, heal the suffering from living a life that's fear-based, and begin to live with unconditional love so that we can reach more of our human potential and power. And we all want more. I mean, as y'all know, I coach people, and we find that most people feel like they want to be further along than where they are, either in their jobs or they want promotions, or further along in their bank account, further along in their business, further along in their relationships. And they think the problem is that they don't have enough knowledge. They don't know enough, or they don't have the right contacts. And the reality is those things are really the false problem. It's not that they don't have enough knowledge. What they do is go get another book to read, and it's not that they, that won't solve the problem. And the answer is not in a book. The answer is you. You are the book. So yeah, let us know where you're tuning in from. We'd love to create a little interaction here. Love to have you like this program, share this program, comment on this program. And so if we have enough knowledge, and it's 400 million books are created are printed in America every year. 600 million blogs are out all over the globe, and 1.9 billion websites are in the world, right? Yet people believe that knowledge is power. We got a lot of knowledge out there, but we still have all these problems, and people still feeling stressed out and overwhelmed. So knowledge isn't power in of itself. It's only a power when we apply it. And applied knowledge is one of the biggest problems that we find in this world. People who get knowledge hoarded, like the show The Hoarders. They have books and knowledge everywhere, but not necessarily using the knowledge. So one of the things that really relates to us being able to improve our lives is the concept of self-leadership. Self-leadership. Because surely one won't be able to lead other people if they can't lead themselves. And so there's just want to talk to you about that a little some today. There's 4 rungs to the leadership ladder. First one, the highest one, is formal leadership. That's when people give you position of power, give you authority to lead them. But the rung under that, the foundation under that, is self-leadership. Because if a person can't lead themselves, you're probably not going to give them authority to lead you around the corner to the store, because you see they don't have integrity, they don't do what they say they're going to do, they're sloppy in their ways of being. So you probably won't give them positional power. But there's a rung underneath self-leadership, and that is self-image. How do you see yourself? Because if you see yourself in a negative, then your self-leadership will be negative. If you see yourself in a positive, your self-leadership will be positive. And there's also another rung under self-image. But before we get to that, it's like, where do we get our self-image from? Well, the foundation is self-love. It's self-love that gives us whatever our self-image is. But unfortunately, we've developed an image of ourselves that's not accurate and true, even from the time we were children. Because maybe our parents, or siblings, or teachers told us something about ourselves. Like, how many of y'all, when you were growing up, either this was said to you or you've heard people say, because of your skin color, you weren't college material? Or I thought you'd never, become something. Things like that. Now we know there's social cultural influences, and it's things that we learned in our families about ourselves that weren't true. And we develop beliefs about who we are and what we could be and do, and our self-image is developed from that. So this rung underneath self-image is self-love. Do you love yourself? If you do, type love in the comments, right? You love yourself. But usually when I ask that question to people, I get one of three answers. Answer can be yes, I do love myself. Sometimes people say, no, not like I really should. And then there's others that will say, no, they don't love themselves. And if your answer to the question of do you love yourself is anything other than yes, then we're saying to you, get over it, buddy. Whatever the story is that you're telling yourself that's keeping you from loving yourself more fully, get over that story. It's a story probably was planted by somebody else, and you've been feeding off of it for decades. And it's not even true. It's not even intelligent to not love yourself, right? Because the Creator loves you and gives you everything in this life, in this world, to sustain your life, to grow your life, to reach more of your full potential, that you are the crown of creation. You're the best that is being given. And He's giving you intelligence. And it's intelligent to love yourself. But too often we live in a world of unintelligent thinking that's false because of the limiting beliefs we've picked up over our lifetime. And we're here to help all of those who are ready to shift those limiting beliefs, to move out of the suffering state into a more powerful state of living. And if that's something that you're interested in, you can book a call with me, or just type in the chat, right? Self-love. People are starving for self-love nowadays, but looking for love in all the wrong places. And look at the problems that we have in the world. All these hate crimes. We're out here in California. Half Moon Bay is not that far from us, maybe an hour. And there were some killings last week. And then Monterey Park was also killings out in California. And then we had this situation with, I think his name was Tyron Nichols in Memphis, Tennessee. And the black-on-black crime that occurred. Unfortunately, I heard an older gentleman say that our people have been infected by self-hatred. And we see that in what showed up in Memphis. And it's not the first time, probably won't be the last. So there's something about what's driving our lives that's creating this lack of self-love. What must one be believing and thinking and feeling that drives them to the actions we saw in Memphis that gave those horrible results? So what is self-leadership? Well, it's finding out what you love. What is it that you love to be, to do, to have in this world, in this life? What are you here to produce, to create? And then deciding on what your goals are and actually allowing yourself to move towards those. You know, if you have a desired result, then that means there's something that you're missing. And I'll share with you all one of the things that my coach, mentor, 20-some years ago said to me. We were on the way driving for dinner, and he said to me, Zayd, if you want a better client, you have to be a better person. If you want a better client, better customer, a better business, a better relationship, better health, more money in your bank account, you got to be a better person. And it's true. And it's what part of what self-leadership is definitely about. So we teach 7 different self-leadership practices. The first one is courage. Courage, persistence, positive mental attitude, self-discipline, self-confidence, self-esteem, and integrity. Yes. And we have a system that allows us to increase our self-awareness for positive change, create that positive mindset. That's the only thing that's keeping us from more of our potential is our mindset, the way we think. So I want to take a few minutes and walk you through maybe even just the first one, which is courage. You know, if you're going to evolve your self-leadership, it's definitely going to require courage. So what is courage? Well, it's being able to try new things, to risk failing in order to succeed. Because whatever you're going to try that's new, you're probably going to suck at it at first. Right? And you got to work over and over and over again, overcome whatever obstacles are in your way so that you can get better at it. Courage looks like grit. It looks like spirit and tenacity, right? So how would you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10? 10 being the highest on your ability with courage. Is it an 8 or 9? Is it a 4 or 5 or 6? Because it's easy, my friends, to let fear rule your life. It's easy. Matter of fact, the society that we live in, fear is ruling most people's lives. There's subconscious patterns that are running in their belief systems, in their thoughts and feelings and behaviors. I had a conversation today with a couple people, and we were trying to keep them in the present moment. We were coaching them around some things in the present moment. And every time we asked them a question about the present, they continued to say, yeah, well, this is what I did in the past. I've done this for 7 years, for 8 years, for 5 years, for 2 years. It's 90% of the people are living their lives from the past. The subconscious patterns of thoughts, beliefs, and feelings, and stuck in patterns of fear. So they give up trying to improve. They give up trying to do new things. Let me just do just enough to maintain the status quo. Let me just settle for. Your life is not supposed to be settle for less in your life. Don't you know that God has favored you with the greatest gift, which is intelligence, and the intelligence to create whatever it is that you want to create in this world. Now, you got to get prepared. You got to have courage first to even make a new decision, to give yourself permission to decide and believe something different about yourself than what you've been believing. That in and of itself requires courage, because the brain is set in certain patterns of doing things and the way it thinks things should be done, and we just get stuck in those habits. Anybody resonating here with what we're talking about? If so, put something in the chat. I'm not even sure if this thing is on right now. I'm not even sure if anybody's hearing me or listening to me. I'm not even sure if anybody's here. But we're going to show up and we're going to teach, because that's what we're committed to do, is helping us to heal ourselves from fear so we can begin to live unconditional love and reach more of the potential and the power that's already inside of you. Yes. Hamid, thank you for being here, brother. In fact, I was thinking about you earlier. I wanted to give you a call. I hope you guys are, I guess you all are settled in. And even in your situation of transitioning, and all of us are transitioning one place to another, one destination to another, it requires courage. Anything that you want, I'm not just talking to you, my brother, but anybody that's paying attention to this, and thank you for letting me know that you're hearing me, you're listening. Life is full of transitions and transformation. Change. Change is the only constant in life. You know, we have a formula that we used to teach where the outside of the formula, you know, Stephen Covey says, start with the end in mind. So the end would be whatever results you want to improve in your life, in your business, in your family, in your bank account, in your health, whatever results you want to improve. There's one thing and one thing only that's required to improve your results. And when I ask people that question in training sessions, they'll say, I say, well, what is the one thing? Some will say you got to have a plan. Some will say you have to have commitment. Some will say you have to have more money. Right? And we come back and say, well, is it possible to have a new plan, to have more money, to have commitment, but still not improve your results? The truth is, yeah, it is possible. That's because the one thing and the one thing only that's going to improve your results in any area of your life is positive behavior change. And the disconnect comes when we want more of something, but we're not willing to change. We're not willing to change our behaviors. You know, when it comes to changing behaviors, what is the normal response from human beings? It's fear. I don't want to change. I want things to stay the same. We're afraid of it, or we avoid it. We resist it. But that's the only thing that's going to give you more results. So what we need is some type of a formula that allows us to do the thing that we don't necessarily want to do. Yes. And that formula involves first allowing yourself. It's four elements. It's four elements to it. We got to have goals, specific measurable goals. We got to have certain knowledge, certain skills, and we also have to have the mindset, right? The mindset. And of those four elements, the mindset and the specific goals are the two most important. In fact, the mindset is the most important. It doesn't matter what your strategy is. If your mindset's not right, the strategy's not going to work. So attending to that mindset, everybody's got knowledge and skills. I mean, that just gets you on the team, but that doesn't necessarily get you in the game. It's your mindset, is what you believe, what you think, what you feel. That's going to determine the actions. And we have to have specific goals and know what is the destination, what's the target that we're after. Some people, they have a good attitude, they're nice people, but they don't have any specific goals. I work with people, I ask them, what do you want? And they'll start giving me a list of what they don't want. But that's not what I'm asking you. You have to decide. You have to have the courage to decide what you really want. And there's a great story in our book about a young man. His name is Ray. He was one of my mentors. And when he was 11, he wanted to get a Schwinn bike because his buddies at school had a bike. And there were 7 children in the family. And, it was two bedrooms. The boys stayed in one room and the girls stayed in the other room. And he desperately wanted to get this bike. And they were on a farm, so he asked his dad if he would, allow him to work a portion of the farm in the summertime. His dad gave him a lot. And of course, his dad couldn't afford to get the bike for him, but he didn't want to dampen his dreams. So his dad tried to talk him out of working this acre of land, planting things and growing it and selling it. If you do this, you're not going to be able to play baseball with the fellas in the summertime. You're going to have to get up early in the morning and weed those crops. You have to do this, do that. He tried to talk it out, but Ray had the courage that this is what I want. The willingness to try new things and learn new things. So he ended up sleeping out in the garden. He got him a tent. His father gave him the seeds and loaned him the materials and told him he had to pay him back for those things at the end of the summer. And he raised his crops and he sold the crops. He had to put crops in a little red wagon and carry it for a mile to get to his grandmother's house, and his grandfather helped him to sell the crops. What am I talking about? I'm just talking about the courage of an 11-year-old boy who had a desire, decided something that he wanted and was willing to put that effort in. Right? It was hard, but he got what it is that he wanted, and he got plenty of support. It takes courage. I see, my man, you have a comment here. Sometimes we keep trying to make up on that one thing we missed out on in the past, not realizing that what we missed out on wasn't for you to have at that time. That's so true. And what happens is we anguish over what it is that we missed out until we get to a point of the wisdom that you're saying in the second sentence, right? Because what's for you won't pass you by, and what passes you by is not for you, right? But living in the past is not going to help us get to the future that we want. So the first decision, the first courage really comes in making a new decision about yourself. Deciding on a goal takes courage. Hey, this is where I am, but this is where I want to be. And then figuring out a plan to fill that gap between where you are and where you want to be. And it's going to require, the action is going to require overcoming some type of fear. Because if we weren't fearful about moving forward, we'd already have what it is we want. But it's kind of like, you make a decision, you say, okay, I want to be this, I want to do this. I want to learn this so I can have a profession. That's a decision. You don't know how it's all going to work out. In other words, you don't need to know how in order to make a decision, but you have to decide. So what is it you want to produce in your life going forward? Anybody, put it in the chat. What do you want? What do you want now? And then being willing to have the courage to make a new decision about yourself that you can achieve that. And get yourself prepared. You know, when kids were coming up, we used to talk about the 3 P's. 3 P's. Preparation, perseverance, and prayer. Preparation, perseverance, and prayer. And, you know, one of the other self-leadership practices is perseverance or persistence. It's also positive mental attitude, self-discipline, self-confidence, self-esteem, and integrity. You know, Arthur Ashe says that the biggest thing for self-confidence is preparation. Self-confidence is the key to success, and the key to self-confidence is preparation. Right? So what is it that you want? And what's required for you to prepare? It's going to take courage. It's going to take self-leadership, and it's going to take courage. And even though if you rated yourself 1 to 10 on all of those 7 self-leadership practices, you know, and we have definitions for each of them. Some will be rated higher, some will be rated lower. But even in the ones that's rated lower, it's for sure, those are limiting beliefs. If we're rating ourselves lower on any of these, it's because we have a limiting belief about ourselves. I'm going to read one thing and then I'm going to. So we had the workshop, and there were a couple of people that was very high in integrity, but then there were some who said they were low in persistence and low in self-confidence. So I'm saying if we're low in any of these things, if we perceive ourselves as being low in any of them, then what does that really mean? Well, I personally don't like the word black, because in language, in the English language, there are root words in every language. But if you look at the word black, you see the root word is lack. Be lack, or be lacking. So if one is rating themselves low on courage, and let's not pretend, you know, I was talking to my barber about this Friday night when I went to get the haircut before the Saturday presentation. And we were talking about this, and he said, well, I'm 10 in all of them. I'm 10 in courage. And what was you in persistence? I'm 10. Positive mental attitude, I'm 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. I'm like, okay, but yeah, I ain't scared. So then I asked him, well, what is it that you want to produce in your life? Are you producing everything have you produced everything you want in your life? And he was like, I'm in the process of it. Yeah, but if you haven't produced it, then it's something that's held you back so far. It could be timing or other things. But when I probed a little bit, he said, well, persistence and self-confidence have kept him from producing more. So what am I saying? We can pretend like we got our stuff together, but maybe it's just pretension. And it takes courage to even look at yourself and be truthful and honest with yourself around where you are. So this idea of be lacking courage, the opposite of courage is fear, cowardice, weakness. To be lacking persistence is quitting, giving up, stopping. To be lacking positive mental attitude is to be uncertain and doubtful, or even being vague. To be lacking self-discipline is ignorance, chaos, confusion, neglect of oneself. To be lacking self-confidence is doubt, fear, hesitation, uncertainty, distrust. To be lacking self-esteem is to belittle oneself, disrespect, hate. And to be lacking integrity is deceit, corruption, disgrace. Even talking about these things, isn't the energy low when we think about be lacking any of those positive self-leadership practices? Of course it's low. But the reality is all of those things are false about you. Because you can't tell me you've never had a chance when you were courageous. You can't tell me there's never been a time in your life when you weren't persistent and self-disciplined and you had confidence. And so if it's happened in one part of your life, it can happen in any part of your life if you develop that muscle and use it. So those lows are false, and they're also unintelligent thinking. And if we allow ourselves to really reflect on what's true, come back to our the true reality of who and what you are and what this life is, then we can get out of the suffering and begin to move in the unconditional love and achieve more of the human potential and power that you came to express and that the Creator wants you to express within yourself. So if you like this teaching, share it. Put some likes in, put some loves, make some comments. And if you're interested in learning more about these self-leadership practices, then type leadership into the chat. Look, we talk with a lot of people. We serve a lot of people, and folks are suffering. And maybe you got all your stuff together. Maybe you say, well, I don't need any transformation. I got my stuff together. Maybe you do. But we just know that part of the human condition is programming, and many of us have been programmed not to see ourselves fully as we are. When you go beyond the surface and really reflect, there's some kind of fear that's holding us back. And now's the time to release it. We all got a short time, my age in life, people are leaving us, they're dropping like flies. So whatever it is you want to produce in your life, now is the time to do it. And if you want some support around that, at least even minimally a conversation of 30 minutes about what it is that you're wanting to produce, then I'm offering to give you an ear, to give you some support, to find out what it is and where you might be stuck, and really inspire you to get unstuck, show you how to get unstuck so you can move forward in your life. So if that feels like something you're interested in, type the word support in the comments and I'll reach out to you. Direct message. We thank you for your time and your energy. We love you, and we pray that God will continue to bless you. Amen.